When I, Jehovah, look upon the earth, I see the struggle of mankind with shame and faithfulness. From the days of Ezra, my servant confessed, "O my God, I feel ashamed and embarrassed to raise my face to you, for our errors have multiplied, and our guilt has mounted up to the heavens." Ezra 9:6. Daniel too recognized that to me belongs righteousness, but to you belongs shame, for you have acted unfaithfully. Daniel 9:7. This cry of guilt and shame has echoed through the generations. But I, Jehovah, have not changed. I remain righteous, faithful, and true. And I have given my Son, the Christ, as the dividing line for every human heart. For he declared with certainty, "Whoever disowns me before men, I will disown before my Father in the heavens." Matthew 10:33. Whoever becomes ashamed of me and my words in this sinful generation, I will also be ashamed of him when I come in my Father's glory with the holy angels. Mark 8:38, Luke 9:26. Do you see then how serious this matter is in my eyes? To be ashamed of my Son is to be ashamed of me. To deny him is to lose fellowship with me entirely. For everyone who denies the Son does not have the Father either. But whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. 1 John 2:23. Yet I do not leave you without power or hope. The faithful Apostle Paul stood boldly saying, "I am not ashamed of the good news, for it is in fact God's power for salvation to everyone having faith." Romans 1:16. He urged all of you, do not become ashamed of the witness about our Lord, but share in suffering for the good news by relying on the power of God. 2 Timothy 1:8. And he reminded you that if you endure, you will reign with my Son, but if you deny, you will also be denied. 2 Timothy 2:12. Consider my Son himself. For the joy that was set before him, he endured the torture stake, despising shame, and sat down at my right hand. Hebrews 12:2. He did not let shame silence him. He glorified me through obedience. And so I am not ashamed to be called the God of those who reach for a better place, a heavenly city that I myself have prepared for them. Hebrews 11:16. So I ask you, when the world mocks, when it presses you to shrink back, will you be ashamed of me? Or will you stand boldly as a workman unashamed, handling the word of truth aright? 2 Timothy 2:15. If you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed. 1 Peter 4:16. Rather, glorify my name as those who have set their hope not on this fading world, but on the kingdom that is about to be revealed. For the choice is before you, shame that leads to rejection, or faith that leads to eternal glory. And I said, "O my God, I feel ashamed and embarrassed to raise my face to you, O my God, for our errors have multiplied over our heads, and our guilt has mounted up to the heavens." Ezra chapter 9, verse 6. To you, O Jehovah, belongs righteousness, but to us belongs shame, as is the case today to the men of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and all Israel, those nearby and far away. In all the land you dispersed them, because they acted unfaithfully toward you. Daniel chapter 9, verse 7. But whoever disowns me before men, I will also disown him before my Father who is in the heavens. Matthew chapter 10, verse 33. For whoever becomes ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. Mark chapter 8, verse 38. For whoever becomes ashamed of me and of my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of that person when he comes to his glory, and that of the Father and of the holy angels. Luke chapter 9, verse 26. But whoever disowns me before men will be disowned before the angels of God. Luke chapter 12, verse 9. For I am not ashamed of the good news. It is in fact God's power for salvation to everyone having faith, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Romans chapter 1, verse 16. My aim is to know him and the power of his resurrection, and to share in his sufferings, submitting myself for death like his. Philippians chapter 3, verse 10. So do not become ashamed either of the witness about our Lord or of me, a prisoner for his sake, but take your part in suffering adversity for the good news by relying on the power of God. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 8. If we go on enduring, we will also rule together as kings. If we deny, he will also deny us. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. Do your utmost to present yourself approved to God, a workman with nothing to be ashamed of, handling the word of truth aright. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. But now they are reaching out for a better place, that is, one belonging to heaven. Therefore God is not ashamed of them to be called on as their God, for he has prepared a city for them. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 16. As we look intently at the chief agent and perfecter of our faith, Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, he endured a torture stake, despising shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. But if anyone suffers as a Christian, let him not feel ashamed, but let him keep on glorifying God while bearing his name. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. Everyone who denies the Son does not have the Father either, but whoever acknowledges the Son has the Father also. 1 John chapter 2, verse 23. When I, Jehovah, gaze upon my people, I see the weight of guilt and shame that has burdened mankind since the days of Ezra and Daniel. My servants wept, confessing that their sins had risen to the very heavens, and indeed shame belonged to them because they had acted unfaithfully. Yet I, Jehovah, am righteous, and I extend mercy to those who return to me. But understand this, to be ashamed of my Son, to shrink back from his name before men, is to close the door to life itself. Did not my Son warn, whoever disowns me before men, I will disown before my Father and before the angels of God. Matthew 10:33, Luke 12:9. To deny him is to lose me. To reject him is to reject the very salvation I freely give. Yet look also to the faithful ones. Paul declared with courage, I am not ashamed of the good news, for it is in fact God's power for salvation to everyone having faith. Romans 1:16. He endured imprisonment, ridicule and suffering, yet he rejoiced to share in the sufferings of Christ. My faithful servants throughout the ages have lifted their heads high, bearing reproach, glorifying my name, and refusing to let shame silence them. And what of my Son? For the joy that was set before him, he endured the torture stake, despising shame, and sat down at my right hand. Hebrews 12:2. He showed the path, endurance, faith, and victory over shame. So here is the question I set before you. Will you let this world, with its mockery and unbelief, silence your faith? Or will you stand firm, unashamed of my Son, unashamed of my name, boldly handling the word of truth aright? 2 Timothy 2:15. For I am not ashamed of those who reach for a better place, a city prepared by my own hand. Hebrews 11:16. To them I give life, glory, and a crown with my Son. But if you deny him, he will deny you. If you endure, you will reign with him. 2 Timothy 2:12. Therefore my call to you is clear, do not be ashamed. If you suffer as a Christian, let it be your honor. Keep glorifying me while bearing my name. 1 Peter 4:16. Lift up your face, for the time of reward draws near. The decision rests with you. Shame that leads to rejection, or faith that leads to everlasting life. Choose courage. Choose faith. Choose to never be ashamed of me nor of my Son.